All right, we're going to talk today about Burgettstown.
My favorite little community.
Yeah. So, what do you got?
Well, went to fourth grade, so that made me, what, 10? And you went to second grade?
Second grade. Yeah.
That made you 7, 8? I guess we were 9 and 7.
7. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had Mrs. Smith, a little old white-haired lady. I say little old white hair, she was probably 50, but she had white hair, maybe 5 feet tall, and felt totally alienated from everybody. So that's the first memory I have. I don't know how your school was.
Oh, well, let me tell you, I didn't know you had Mrs. Smith because when I was in fourth grade, now 2 years later, after you had left and whatever, my school experience was Mrs. Smith, when I came into class, she hated me. Now, I was not a good student, but I wasn't a bad student. I mean, I didn't cause her any trouble or whatever. And I remember at the very first of fourth grade, sitting somewhere about the second seat back, where I normally would sit all the way to the back. So some reason she assigned me or whatever. I was in the second seat in the front. I turned around and said something to some kid behind me about something. She came from the desk, grabbed me by the shoulders and shook me and screamed at me, and I was just absolutely dumbfounded. I didn't know she shook me till my seat was out of row and everything. I was traumatized. I didn't have any idea where'd all this come from. So anyway, when I went home, I told Mom about this, and she goes, "I'll talk to her." Long story short, her husband was an alcoholic, and he had worked for Dad at Burgettstown Farm Supply for a period of a couple weeks. They found he was drinking, and Dad fired him. So
you're the bad guy.
I was lucky enough to go to Mrs. Smith. That's just typifies. I had totally forgotten about that. My entire Burgettstown experience in school and all that sort of thing. Well, let me go back. When I got to Burgettstown in second grade, I had gone to that one-room school, did well, had fun, whatever. They tested me in second grade for some reason and went to Mom and said, "He's not eligible to be in our first grade, let alone our second grade. And we want to put him back into first grade."
Ooh.
And Mom said, "No, that's not going to happen. We'll do whatever it takes." So Mom then became my home tutor, and I remember everybody else is out playing after they got home from school. I had to work on papers and did all that shit. I hated school, but rightly so. I wasn't real good. I was in second grade and still didn't know the alphabet.
Yeah.
Couldn't read. There was a lot of it was an ugly situation for me, but I survived. I think the only good thing about this whole education thing was that I learned how to be the kid clear in the back of the class that would be like I was like a chameleon, because I could blend right into the wallpaper and nobody could see me. I never put my hand up to answer in class. I never said anything. I never did anything. If the teacher asked me a question, I became excellent at it. I'd put my head down, or I would look somewhere else until they got bored and asked someone else the question. I learned all these techniques of dodging and weaving, and I remember when I became a teacher, I had ninth grade students, and so I told them right out the gate. I said, "First of all you people in the back, you're the ones I'm picking on, because that used to be me. And you know that routine you use where you put your head down and make no eye contact? I'll wait all friggin' day for you. And the whole class is going to end up staring at you until you answer me. So I'm just telling you, all those things that you use, I learned, been there, it's not going to happen." So So it did have some positive things
Apparently.
in the end. But school was not my friend.
Well, I didn't much care for it in that I felt isolated because the whole class, except for me, had been together since first grade. They all went to first grade in that school together.
They went to
all
kindergarten. They even had kindergarten back then.
Well, if they did, because we didn't go to kindergarten, but if they went to, so that made them kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, and now they're fifth year together, and then I get thrown into the mix. So I don't know any of them. They're all had their own friends. They've all divvied up the class into their little cliques. I wasn't in any clique. So the only way that we spent time together, you and I, was walking to and from, because we walked to and from school every dang day. And then eventually you got to meet some kids that were living in your area. And that's how I got to meet that Ron McEwen and Sammy, whatever his name was, Davis, I think his name was. And I think those were the only two that lived in. Oh no, there was my old girlfriend, Nancy something or other, and her sister. Oh, you liked her sister, I think. Yeah, her sister Joyce. Oh, we're talking fourth grade here, so whatever. Yeah, so we got to meet those people, and then we lived on Pine Street, was right behind the VFW, and it was a gravel road. And so we got to play in the gravel road, and I was 9, I guess, or 10, and my friends, Ron McEwen and Sam, rode bicycles. Dad's edict, and this is the only really strict rule that I remember Dad having. I mean, I'm sure we had regular rules, but this, you cannot ride a bicycle, you're not allowed on a bicycle until you're 12. What? That's how everybody in that town, all the kids got around on bicycles. No. Now, I could ride a bicycle. I learned to ride one. I learned to ride Judy's bicycle that she had in Hillendale. I could ride a bike since I was probably 5 or 6. No, you're not be riding a bicycle. Well, okay. Well, yeah, I did ride a bicycle. I would ride my friends' bicycles. Oh, let me ride your bike. And I'd get and I'd ride. We'd ride back and forth. And we'd learn how to ride down that gravel road and slam your brakes on and slide. So we were doing those kinds of things. And then, I don't know, whatever possessed me one day, lost track of time, and I'm riding down Pine Street. Then I went up the hill, went down Florence Avenue. Then I went too far, and I had to come down that little alleyway that was between Florence Avenue and Pine Street. Coming down that alleyway, who do you think is pulling in? He decided to come home for lunch. Was Dad. And I just went right up as he went by, and he saw me. Oh, I don't remember the ramifications of it. They weren't good. I don't remember the details, but it was, you know you're not allowed to ride a bike, and you're riding it on the road? Well, where else would you ride it? Oh, he was just, it was an unnatural response about you can't ride. And I do not know what, to this day, I don't know.
Well,
why.
I'll tell you, my memory of the bike riding thing is I remember when you got your first bike.
Oh, yes, so do I.
Oh, my. Mom took
12.
me down. Were you 12? Was that the
12,
big
yeah.
deal? And we pushed this fancy, glossy, most gorgeous thing I'd ever seen in my life from down where the flower shop is, a block and a half. We pushed it home. And I didn't know how to ride a bike, so I'm pushing it, and the pedal kept hitting me in the back of the leg to the point where my leg was black and blue by the time we got back. And that was the most beautiful bike in the world. I didn't know how to ride a bike, so I must have been 10, but had no idea. But once we got bikes, then I got a bike.
No. We're not going
later on.
We're going to stop right there.
Yeah.
Because this was a brand new, it was shiny. It had those little flyers coming out of the handlebars.
Had a horn on the
It
side.
had a horn on the side. It was red
Oh, it
and
was
white.
gorgeous.
It had fenders. It had a little basket to carry stuff in. It had something on the back that you could carry stuff on the back. It was wonderful. Now, here's the thing that is so unreasonable. I wasn't allowed to ride a bike until I'm 12. You're not allowed to on a bike. You may not ride it. That was the rule. 12 is the magic number. You're only 10, right? I have this brand new bike, and what does Dad decide? He's going to teach you how to ride a bike on my new bike. Well, what do you think happened? What do you think happened? You wrecked it first time.
I wrecked it a lot.
You wrecked it a lot. It got banged up. It got scratched. Well, you know how I am. I don't want my things all damaged. And you damaged that beyond recognition. I was so frustrated with you and Dad over that bicycle for months. I guess still am. No, I don't care now, but I was at that time. That was crazy. And yeah, and then once you learned to ride it, okay, now you were able to get a bicycle. You didn't get a new one though.
No, my grandpa made me. He bought pieces at the auction. I
Yep.
remember him buying pieces, and it was the big deal down at the garage because he had the frame hanging there and he'd spray
He had
painted
sprayed
it,
it, yeah.
and it was beautiful. The only difference was my bike was about 50 years old. Even on its day, it was brand new and weighed about 700 pounds.
Yeah,
it was made out of cast iron, just about fenders, because I was used to riding your bike, which was light and fancy, went up hills. I couldn't get up half the hills you got up.
Yeah.
Of course, one speed's all it had.
Well, that's
But
what mine had too.
mine could coast. Coming down the hill,
yeah.
baby. Mine could coast. But
Well, we did. Then we started riding together. We then learned how to make jumps. We were getting pretty good.
ramps,
Do you
yeah.
remember we made ramps? We built them up probably, I mean, I'm not talking ramps 4 and 5 feet high. I'm talking a foot high. And we'd go jumping over things. I'm just surprised we never jumped over each other. We never laid down in front of the ramp and leaped over each other, as I recall. Do you?
Yeah,
did we
no,
ever?
no, no.
We never did that.
We got into that precision riding where we would ride together and then swing out and pass each other, and we did all kinds
Oh,
of,
you're right. We
like the Blue Angels, how they would do their thing. We did that with other. We would remember two bikers come at you wide open on these gravel bumpy roads, and
Yeah.
one guy goes down the middle, and just right at the right second, you opened up between the two bikes,
Yeah.
shoot between.
We did those.
We
Oh,
did
you're
all
right.
kinds
we
of.
did that.
Yeah, that
We
was.
just didn't leave the ground only on those ramps.
Yeah,
Like foot ramps.
Yeah.
And then
whatever.
slide. We
Yeah.
were getting really good to controlled slides.
Yeah. Yep.
That was
Yeah.
good. But riding out Pine Street, then it connected to Florence Avenue, and they came together, and then it was that gravel road that took you out to the strip mines.
Mhm.
And we'd ride out there for hours. And there was a big hill that we would push the bikes to the top of that hill, probably over a mile long. And then you'd ride, and that's where, were you with me when Eugene Copo?
No,
Shot
I
us.
wasn't. You were on your own with your own friends or
Somebody
whatever.
was with me. I don't remember who it
shooting
was.
at you with that.
Well, yeah. I was probably at 12-ish, and he was 15 or 16, hadn't yet learned to drive, but before he was done bullying me, he did learn to drive. We were out there riding to somebody else, and we saw him. He had a 22, and he shot at us. Now, he didn't try to hit us probably, because he didn't. He hit the ground, and we jumped off our bikes and ran down a bank and around a lake and hid behind some trees on the other side of this. The lake was, 50 feet across? And he came over, he shot at us 20 or 30 times. Now, I'm sure he wasn't trying to hit us, but shot at the trees. Bullets were zinging by us. And we were hiding, and then all of a sudden the shooting stopped. Look, there are bikes in the middle of that lake. Both bikes thrown into the lake, not just on the edge. They were 4 and 5 feet under. We had to go underwater to drag those things out. So that was, but he had already bullied me before that. But that was big bully that started. I mean, that was just beyond repair, that one. 'Cause
Yeah.
he was never forgiven on that.
Burgettstown was kind of a really scary place. There was a part of I could see early in my youngness about how gangs form just for protection, because you protected me and I didn't have to put up with any of that crap. But I could see where that's buddy system was really valuable.
Well, it probably wasn't fourth grade, but fifth and sixth grade, then the bullying started. And Dad's words to me, I don't know if he said them to you, but they were to me. If you come home and you ran away from a fight, you're going to get one here. You're going to get worse than what they gave you. He said, so you end it out there before you come home. Don't you dare back down. What, you think I'm going to come home to him? Oh, no. So that was really good motivation. So when I got bullied, I went at it. And I didn't have very many skills at all. 0 skills. It just that fear and determination. So number one, that got me wanting to study karate. I sent away for magazines on how to do that. Didn't learn anything. And then secondly, then I found out you could learn to wrestle. And I thought wrestling was like you see on TV on Saturdays. And I went to that. And you started doing that too.
I went to the...
And I'm telling you, I don't remember the time frame, but I'm thinking a month worth of that wrestling. Now, I kept doing it. I just kept doing wrestling from then on until I was allowed to wrestle in high school. But just a month's worth of wrestling. And that was it. I could win any fight I got in because they teach you things to do.
Yeah, the balance, the whole,
It's the
everything.
balance,
Yep.
how to off balance, and I didn't realize how valuable that was at the time. But it was, you protect yourself, and you do not allow the bully to overcome you. So that was, and Dad started it. He didn't teach me how. He just said, you better learn how.
Yeah,
So
I
that was
remember
the
going
motivation.
up to the high school and wrestling with all ages of kids, but there weren't that many kids our age there. But the guy made you welcome. It was fun. You could work out, and I didn't
you're
realize.
wrestling with high school kids, and they're teaching you. They're nice. They're
Yeah.
teaching you how to wrestle.
I remember what a positive experience that was, because I socially didn't associate with anybody else in Burgettstown, but those guys were
Yeah,
nice.
they
They were
were.
nice to us, and it really changed me because I didn't get into the bullying thing. I think I was too young, or you protected me. I don't know which, but when I then was in junior high, we changed to a different school district. Well, by then, I knew how to wrestle, and I was getting a little bigger, and you had got me into this strengthening and doing muscle things. So it was a whole different game for me by the time I got to 8th grade at a different school, because there was I'm not taking any of this crap.
That's where I learned how to deal with bullies and deal with aggression. Was number one, Dad wasn't going to stand for anything less, so I had to be creative and learn. And apparently, you learned it too. But it was you protect yourself, you learn how to fight, you learn how to stay away from trouble. Or if trouble came to you, you dealt with it. And that's what happened to that Eugene Copa. He, not to beat this up, but this last story, he would bully me every time he saw me. For 2 years it went on easily. And it got to the point, if I saw him and I watched for him, I would go around him. One day, Mom and Dad sent me to Bard's. It was in the evening, it was dark. They sent me to get ice cream and syrup. And I'm coming back with this bag, and I'm going up Florence Avenue, and he and his buddy are coming down Florence Avenue. Now, I don't know if you remember what that looked like, but going up there was this house that had hedges that were maybe a foot high. but the hedges were on top of the curb that was a foot high, so the whole thing was 2 feet high. I'm just saying that because I came up there and he goes, "Oh, look who we have here. And let me see what's in that bag." And I'm having this bag trying to hang on to it, and he's ready to take it. And I turn him just so his back is to this. And when he pulled on it, I pushed him. He tripped because he couldn't go backwards. He fell into those hedges. I jumped on top of him, and I beat the living shit out of him because he couldn't do anything. He's on his back. He's trying to catch himself. He took more shots to the head, and his buddy didn't do a thing. I got the bag, put the stuff in it, and I said, "You touch me again, you'll get more of the same." Now, I'm just blowing smoke because I was lucky. From then on, me and Eugene Copo are best buds. He doesn't bully me ever again. And I now know this is how you do it. I mean, that was a great lesson for me.
Well, we're going to have to stop at this little section. We might have to do a little bit more on Burgettstown.
There's plenty more.